Hey guys, happy Monday and welcome to the Fox 5 Live Zone. Good to see you and thank you so much for joining us. I'm your host, Guy Lambert. Coming up on the show today, the latest surrounding the protests taking place out in LA. We're going to get a report live from that area. Another twist in the Diddy trial. In this case, his attorneys calling for a mistrial. The judge says, wait a minute, not going to happen. We'll break it down for you. And do people really look like they're dogs? You'd be surprised what a study has to say. We'll talk about it with Annie Mae during our Monday Talkers. All that and more coming up on the show. But first, how about we talk weather, shall we? Caesar joining us right here on the Live Zone. Happy Monday, my friend.
Happy Monday, Guy. I'm hoping everyone has enjoyed at least some of the clearing fog. It started off a little bit on the dreary side. We're starting to slowly see more sunshine. How about we jump right into the forecast?
It was humid today. When I walked, I walked from the metro. Gosh, I was sweating up a storm.
No, definitely. Sweating up a storm, that's the best way to put it. And unfortunately, we're not really seeing any breaks from that. So as we look at today's forecast, look at that. Temperatures back in towards those mid-80s. It is going to be warm and humid today. But the good thing is we start to slowly break that dreary sky cover. So we start to see a little bit more sunshine for us. But as we head in towards the rest of tonight, that warmth also sticks with us, but you'll notice we are going to deal with some rain and the potential for even a few rumbles of thunder out there. So certainly keep that in mind throughout the next 24 to maybe even 48 hours, because going into tomorrow, another day back into the 80s, a few temperatures, a few of us will still stay in the 70s, but things could be a bit on the stormy side for just a few pockets. So not everyone's going to see a storm, but you could run into one. So hold on to that umbrella, maybe not the raincoat just because of the humidity that we're expecting. So looking at futurecast, you'll notice there are going to be spotty showers throughout Monday afternoon, mostly to the west. But as we then head in towards the overnight hours and early morning hours of Tuesday, you'll notice that we start to see a few rain showers becoming a little bit more widespread. That starts to break on up going in towards Tuesday afternoon. A few spotty showers right there, those spotty thunderstorms I was just mentioning earlier. And then we start to clear on out for Wednesday. This is going to be the big pattern flip for us. So we are starting to see that we dry on out, having clear skies, and not much in the way of cloud cover. That's going to help a lot of that warmth really start to build in as we see this cold front move through on Tuesday and really bringing in a nice warm up for us. So look at that, temperatures 80s, right? Then going into Thursday, that's going to be the first 90-degree day for us. Fun little fact. So the last two times we saw our first 90-degree day on June 12th was in 1901 and 1951, I believe, or 1950. But it was also 91 degrees.
Wow.
So this would make it 3 years in a row, right? Little fun trivia fact right there. But yeah, it's going to start to get a little bit on the summery side once we start looking at the 7-day forecast here towards the end of the work week. After the rain showers on Tuesday, you'll notice that we start to pick up that warmth and that intensity. Starts to become humid, especially on Friday. That's where we could start to see some of the heat indices getting in towards those mid-90s, really starting to feel like that DC summer. So that's where we start to have all of that, let's just call it DC hot summer mess, right? That's when we're starting to see some of that. Going into Saturday and Sunday, though, because we are expecting to see some rain showers, the potential for a few rumblers as well, that's where we start to see temperatures dropping back down in towards those mid to low 80s. So could be a potential for a wet weekend. Still ironing out all the details as to how much rain we're expecting, whether or not it's actually really going to mess up any plans, and if we can't enjoy all of those lower 80s, because look at that, after the 90s, Guy, I would love some temperatures back into the 80s, you know?
You and me both, especially yet again to just take away that humidity. Gosh, it gets so soupy around here.
It gets soupy, it gets bad, but you know what? At least the pools are open. Maybe
that's true.
Good day on Friday, right?
All right, hey, I'll take you up on it. Caesar joining us with all things weather right here on the Live Zone. Guys, if you haven't already done so yet, you see it right there on your TV screen. Download the Fox Local app. You got to take out your cell phone, click on that QR code, and you, my friend, are good to go. Now to a Fox 5 News alert, this one from Los Angeles. That's where police and rioters now continue to clash as the protests continue over President Trump's immigration crackdown. The National Guard now getting involved. At least 300 National Guard members touched down early yesterday morning, where they were met with demonstrators outside a detention center. Protesters blocking off traffic near the Metropolitan Detention Center. Cars burned down in the streets as a sign of resistance. In a post on X, California Governor Gavin Newsom asked President Trump to rescind the order, calling the National Guard's deployment, quote, unlawful. This afternoon, the White House also warning government officials who stand in the way of ICE enforcement, saying that they too will face charges if caught. Joining us now to discuss this and so much more is Mr. Timothy Allen Simon, political strategist back here on the Live Zone. Timothy, always good to see you, sir. Welcome to the show.
Good to see you, Guy. Thank you for having me.
All right, so put it plain and simple. Is it or is it not chaos literally unfolding right before our eyes in the city of Los Angeles? We know a number of witnesses stating that, as you heard me make mention, cars being burned, tear gas being used, flash bangs used as well. What say you about what's unfolding?
We know what often happens in television coverage of protest or unrest. Naturally, cameras focus on that particular area. And in this case, downtown Los Angeles and their civic center. Yes, there is chaos in this area. I don't think that is debatable. But no, LA is not under chaos. It's a very large city, and the vast majority of Los Angeles is functioning as normal. With that being said, we have this clash. And once again, the two words of today are executive powers. We have this clash between the executive branch of government, and in this case, a state governor and Gavin Newsom and a mayor and Karen Bass, and the president has overrode them by activating the National Guard. As we speak, it's my understanding that the National Guard is protecting federal properties. I think that is arguable in terms of its constitutionality, but to deploy the National Guard for the first time in the state's history without the governor's approval. This did occur in 1992, but what we now refer to as the Rodney King riots. But in that case, then Republican Governor Pete Wilson asked for the National Guard to come in and aid LA, as well as our California Highway Patrol, which is the equivalent of our state police or state troopers in the Los Angeles riots. So this is unprecedented. And yes, in that area, there is chaos.
Yeah, and to your point yet again, Timothy, we also know that the president has not done this in the past since, well, let's say the civil rights movement without the consent of a governor. So very interesting as we yet again see all of this play out. We also know that California Governor Newsom said that the state will now sue the Trump administration over that deployment, which he and the LA mayor call inflammatory. Does the governor have a leg to stand on?
I don't think it's a real strong leg, to be honest, because of the agitators amongst the demonstrators who are beginning to attack property, whether it's the Waymo automated intelligence vehicles or police cars, or the concrete that's being thrown, which I would say is probably from damage to infrastructure. Some would argue that if the city and the county cannot put it under control, the city, county, and the state, that you in fact need the National Guard. Hence, there is a certain degree of urgency. This will be fascinating arguments. And once again, it feeds into that pot of this administration's efforts to expand executive powers. And I should point out that every administration is typically sued by certain stakeholders and or Congress or other entities for, in fact, exceeding beyond the powers that the framers provided for the executive branch of government.
Timothy, it's no secret those that stand on the left are pretty much stating that this happens to be an American citizen and or American citizens coming together as one to protest, which is backed by the First Amendment. Is that not what is occurring?
It is what is occurring. The First Amendment does grant the right to free speech and the right to assembly. There are limitations, hence the city can say, this is your demonstration area, but this area over here is an unauthorized demonstration or illegal demonstration. And there is deep constitutionality there because our country has treasured the First Amendment right to speech and freedom of assembly. So the question will become, is the Trump administration trying to suppress the protests surrounding the ICE raids on workplaces, on courthouses and schools to apprehend immigrants, some of them in the country legally, some of them not, Or is this part of national security, which President Trump has advocated through Truth Social and executive orders and other means? That will be, we're back in the courts.
Yeah.
And as we're in the courts, it should be pointed out that the vast majority of these decisions are not being decided in favor of the administration. And some of them, in fact, will be before the Supreme Court.
Yet again, we will continue to follow the unrest in Los Angeles throughout the day right here on the Live Zone. I want to move on now to KILMAR Abrego Garcia. Well, his attorney's now pushing to keep a civil case against the Trump administration alive so they can seek sanctions against officials for allegedly violating orders to return him from El Salvador, where he was wrongly deported earlier this year. You think they'll be successful?
I think there are chances that they could. The administration has admitted to the fact that it was a mistake. He was mistakenly classified. There's clearly damages, that meaning suffering that occurred from his family, not just emotional pain and suffering, but he's probably the breadwinner or one of the breadwinners of the family. So you also have what's called compensatory damages. Then there are violations of certain civil rights that he has: the right against unlawful search and seizure, the right to due process, the right to equal protection of the law. And by the way, this is granted to everybody, not just citizens under our United States Constitution. So this is, again, a test case as to how far the president can go. Now, in fairness to the administration, he is saying that I had a mandate. I was voted into office based on my immigration policies, and I'm executing that mandate. However, clearly, the execution of the mandate has had serious flaws, and those flaws have affected the lives of people who never should have been deported, who never should have been apprehended.
Timothy, we'll move on to Mr. Elon Musk. As we all know, both Mr. Musk and President Trump, well, they used to be besties, as my niece would say. Well, now they've had somewhat of a big missplit, as she would also say. We do know that the president depends on SpaceX, meaning that America needs that in order for astronauts to get to and from the International Space Station. Elon's company, which also aims to implant chips in the brains of humans, will have to deal with the Food and Drug Administration, meaning that President Trump can actually make it pretty hard for Mr. Musk. And last but not least, we know that X, formerly Twitter, features in the oversight on the Federal Communications Committee. I got to tell you, they need to kiss and make up, or both perhaps are going to have a lot of issues. Will they not?
Clearly they will. Elon Musk, who I've mentioned before, I've represented his energy company in the past, or my firm has. They have a large dependence on the federal government. And by the way, the state government, the state of California, which largely subsidized Tesla. And hence, the president, since the funding, which the framers, again, intended for Congress, but it comes through the various administrative agencies, he does have the lever. He has shown it in the past with the law firms and universities. He does have the levers to cut the funding. I should point out that the privatization of NASA was actually perfected under the Obama administration to the benefit of Elon Musk. But now I do believe Congress and Americans will talk about the dependency that this country has on SpaceLink, SpaceX, Neuralink, and other entities, other entities that Elon Musk or his entities themselves own. And I think this will be a debate and a fight for the ages, not just how it's playing out in social media, but when the richest man in the world goes up against the most powerful man in the world.
Timothy will end with this, and that is, we know late last week, President Trump implemented a travel ban. Now, the proclamation blocks nationals from Afghanistan and 11 other countries from traveling right here to the U.S. I got to tell you, a number of Afghans are now stating, hey, we were somewhat betrayed, especially with regard to what we did to helping out the U.S. during that war. What say you, sir?
No doubt that the Afghans have been betrayed by both administrations. The botched withdrawal under the Biden administration, which was largely forced by the abrupt end of the occupation by the Trump administration, along with the many Afghans who worked alongside American and allied forces in that very unfortunate and long war. They are trying to flee their country because the Taliban is enacting retribution as the Trump administration is acting retribution in a different form, admittedly. But yes, this is unfortunate, along with the other countries, including Haiti, I should mention, which has largely been at the brunt of American foreign policy. And this is tragic that a country that is in upheaval and arguably demise, that they will be denied access to a nation, that being the United States.
Well said. Yet again, we have been speaking with Timothy Allen Simon, political strategist, joining us right here on the Live Zone. Always good to see you, sir.
Great to see you as well, Guy. Thank you so much.
Well, in light of the recent attacks within the Jewish community, Senate Minority Leader Chuck Schumer now expected to launch an all-out push for $500 million in fiscal year 26, funding the Nonprofit Security Grant Program, which provides security funds for nonprofit institutions at risk of terrorist attacks. Joining us now to discuss this and so much more is Mr. Ron Halber, CEO of the Jewish Community Relations Council of Greater Washington. Ron, always good to see you, sir. Welcome to the show.
Good to see you.
With that being said, Ron, we know this push comes as the Trump administration's proposal to flat fund the program at $274.5 million. Obviously, this for many would be a great thing. I would assume you would agree.
At 274, did you say?
Oh, that is correct, sir.
No, that would not be a good thing, because that would actually bring it down below levels of what the House Appropriations Committee, which is already in the 300 millions, and Schumer's bipartisan proposal in the Senate brings it to $500 million. So right now we need to follow the Senate's example and fund the program at $500 million level. Not the other amounts are simply not acceptable.
And that's exactly what Senate Minority Leader Chuck Schumer is expected to do today. I would expect once that happens, well, folks are going to be jumping for joy, knowing that yet again this will be addressed.
Yes, well, unfortunately, the reason why we need the money is that anti-Semitism has escalated, and it's been doubling every year, and the crisis of anti-Semitism has been growing. Nobody's seeking these funds for any other reason than to provide safety and security to the Jewish community and other minorities that are at risk of hate crime of terrorist attack.
So, Ron, I'm curious. It's now 2025. You just heard me make mention this would affect the fiscal year of 26. Why now? Why is this taking so long for this to happen? Shouldn't this have happened in the past?
Well, in the past 2 years, they had supplemental bills that shored up the base. What Schumer's trying to do is to try, and with those two supplementals, it ended up about being $450 million for the year for the last 2 years. And what Schumer's trying to do is to solidify the base so that it's consistently funded at $500 million level, and not every year being forced by other legislative vehicles to establish a base. The truth is that in December of 2003, Schumer called for $1 billion a year, and that's really more about what the Jewish community and other communities need around the United States. So even if they are able to get to $500 million, that's really a good first step, but not enough. I mean, government's first responsibility is to protect its citizens, and this money is needed more than ever before with the rise of hatred and bigotry and anti-Semitism in our nation today.
Ron, you recently wrote an op-ed entitled "The Jewish Community Can't Bear the Cost of Anti-Semitic Attacks on Our Own." Do tell, sir.
Well, it's very simple. It's not the job of the Jewish community to stop itself from being hated. It's the responsibility of the non-Jewish community to stop hating Jews. We need our non-Jewish allies to start rising in unprecedented amounts, in unprecedented fashion, to demonstrate that anti-Semitism is not acceptable in our community. So I would like to see spontaneous unity rallies taking place across the nation to go ahead and demonstrate about how this is unacceptable in our society. And another way, of course, is by making these funds available. I like to see social media platforms, police. We have to treat this like it's the COVID pandemic. We have to treat this as an epidemic of bigotry that threatens to undermine the social fabric of American democracy and contribute to polarization. This is not the America that we all dream of. This is not the America that most Americans want to live in. Most Americans are good people, but there is a tremendous amount of self-radicalization, I'm talking about towards the Jewish people right now because of what's going on in the Middle East. And you can oppose Israel's policies to democracy. I oppose some of Israel's policies, but the Jewish community's fundamental support for Israel is not going to change. But you can object to those policies within the avenues that democracy provides. When it turns to violence, that's when it's no longer acceptable. And that's why the government needs to step in and to do their best to make sure that Jewish facilities are protected against this upgrowing surge in violence.
Mr. Ron Halber, yet again the CEO of the Jewish Community Relations Council of Greater Washington, joining us right here on the Live Zone. Truly appreciate your time, sir.
Thank you, sir.
All right, guys, we'll take our first break. This is the Fox 5 Live Zone.
Estudiante de universidad, hija de Jorge Arrazola. He vivido toda mi vida aquí en Los Ángeles. Hoy estoy aquí porque el viernes 6 de junio mi padre fue uno de los trabajadores que fue secuestrado por ICE. Lo que ocurrió ese día no estuvo bien, no fue legal. En este país todos tenemos derecho del debido proceso y ese derecho le fue negado a mi padre y a muchos otros trabajadores. Él es el sostén de nuestra familia, nuestro apoyo, especialmente para mis hermanos menores y para mí. Mi papá es parte de esta comunidad. Exigimos liberación inmediata de todos los trabajadores detenidos ese día. Yo estuve presente durante la redada. Vi con mis propios ojos el dolor de las familias y familiares llorando, gritando, sin saber qué hacer, igual que yo. Pero por eso también exigimos, liberen a todos los trabajadores ahora, representación legal y debido proceso. No permitan que ICE entre a los lugares de trabajo. Exigimos que lugares de trabajo que colaboren con ICE rindan cuentas. Exigimos que nuestros representantes locales hagan responsable a los empleadores que colaboran con ICE. Exigimos que el estatus de santuario sea respetado en toda California. No importa de dónde venga una persona, su vida es valiosa y tienen derechos que deben ser respetados. Todas las personas merecen ser tratados con dignidad y respeto. Los Ángeles es nuestra comunidad, pero saber que el Departamento de Policía de Los Ángeles ayudó a ICE a secuestrar a mi papá, a nuestras familias, no es justo. Exigimos justicia para nuestras familias ahora.
All right, guys, back here on the Fox 5 Live Zone. Well, as the Senate works through the president's One Big Beautiful Bill, I can tell you a section countering state-level AI regulation has emerged. That provision now seeks to condition broadband funding on states not regulating AI. This measure comes on the heels of hundreds of AI regulations. Joining us now to discuss this is Mr. Sam Ross, resident writing fellow at Young Voices and a nationally published political analyst. Yet he joins us right here on the Live Zone. Good to see you, Sam. Welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me this morning.
So, Sam, help me wrap my head around all of this. For those of us like me that are still trying to just figure out AI in general, I'm hoping you can expand, if you will, with regard to the broadband funding on states not regulating AI. Do tell, sir.
Yeah, so while the original House budget that passed just now about 2 weeks ago included a 10-year moratorium on state-level AI regulation, the Senate has seemed to amend this a little bit and is instead making it contingent upon receiving funding for the BEAD program, which is the Biden administration's broadband funding, as a way to try to curb the states from putting in excess regulation on artificial intelligence and the tech sector. What this is particularly focused on in terms of this case scenario is these state-level bills that cause so much headache for these companies, as they're predominantly startups, entrepreneurs just getting started in all of this. And now they're navigating hundreds and thousands of laws across various different states, trying to run companies that can serve all American consumers, try to serve consumers globally. And they're running into a lot of regulatory hurdle, and Congress is trying to help them out.
And so with that being said, I'm curious, how are states already abusing their regulatory power over the internet?
Yeah, so we see this constantly happening in the social media atmosphere, constantly happening in a lot of e-commerce. There's just a lot of states trying to come up with their own solutions because Congress, as we all know, moves rather slowly and deliberates a lot and has a lot of different competing interests. And so they're trying to rush through what they think might be the best measure to, counter information that they disagree with, counter censorship that they feel is happening. And yet what happens is you create this kind of mix match framework of laws in different states, and it's determining whether a certain website can be function in a certain state or not, and whether or not a business can be based there. And it causes so much headache for those that are trying to work in the tech sector that frankly is trying to serve all of us. It's not really a state by state issue in the way that maybe some other topics are.
So Sam, you know what I'm going to ask, and that is next. We are always thinking about what's going to happen next. And in this case, what would be the next steps for tech policy in the AI age if this is actually passed?
If this passed, I think it'll be a huge sigh of relief for not just AI, but tech companies broadly, that the federal government is going to pave the way to create a more free and open environment for innovation and growth. And hopefully that can stay around at least for the next 4 years, hopefully further than that. But I certainly think that then the conversation will center around what the House and the Senate are going to do in terms of, countering some of the worst outcomes that we all want to prevent, but want to make sure are happening properly through the federal government and not through a patchwork of states.
Yet again, we have been speaking with Mr. Sam Ross. He is a resident writing fellow at Young Voices and a nationally published political analyst. Sam, good to see you, sir. Thank you so much for coming on the show.
Thank you so much for having me this morning.
You bet. All right, guys, we'll take a quick break. This is the Fox 5 Live Zone. All right, guys, back here on the Fox 5 Live Zone. Now the latest on the Sean Diddy Combs sex crimes trial. Jane, one of Diddy's accusers, now continuing her testimony today. Prosecutors said they'll likely take most of the day, if not all day, to finish direct examination. Joining us now to discuss this and so much more, Mackenzie Joy Brennan, trial attorney, legal analyst back here on the Live Zone. Always good to see you, Mackenzie. Happy Monday to you.
Happy Monday.
All right, let's recap what we know so far with regard to Jane's testimony. We know that she stated she dated Diddy from 2021 to 2024, and she testified that Combs falsely promised he would spend quality time with her and dismissed her repeated requests to stop participating in his sexual hotel nights. Translation, those freak-offs, as we have all heard. We also know that she sent him a direct text message stating just that. I'm curious, your take so far on her testimony.
Yeah, so Jane's testimony is really interesting in general because she was in a relationship with Diddy up until the night that he was arrested. So this is as recent as it gets in terms of witnesses that we're going to hear from. Today has been more upsetting testimony in line with what we talked about last week. We heard that she She threw up having sex with 3 different men on one occasion. One of these hotel nights actually was at a Trump International hotel, which is kind of interesting. The prosecution has shown her photos of 11 different men, and she recognized them as people that she'd been made to have sex with. She didn't know their names. She testified to back pain from being forced into positions and infections that she wasn't allowed to heal from. So just really upsetting stuff, and it honestly mirrors Cassie's testimony a lot. In fact, today, Jane just testified that when she read Cassie's lawsuit, so not the federal indictment, obviously, but Cassie's personal lawsuit against Combs, she fainted because she said it was like reading her own sexual trauma over again, that it mirrored so closely what she had been through.
Mackenzie, let's talk about this potential mistrial motion. I'm so curious about this because, well, we know that the government plans to respond in a filing of some sort today, but the defense team submitted to move for a mistrial over the weekend. Now, that motion was based on the testimony of Breonna, which defense attorneys said, well, it happens to be false. Explain this for us. So walk me through how, first of all, this could happen and what they're trying to get across.
Sure. So it's not the first mistrial motion that the defense has filed. I know of at least 2 other times prior that they've filed for a mistrial. It's not super uncommon because in a trial like this, especially when you have such a coterie of lawyers, they're going to try everything they can. So what they're arguing here is that Bana, which is what Breonna Bongolan went by, essentially lied on the stand, and they're saying that the prosecution knew about it and that this was a willful misrepresentation and that the prosecution knew this was coming. Now, the lie that they're talking about, and I'd say quote unquote lie, is Bana's estimation of the date where the incident of her being held over the railing occurred. And now she said on the stand that she estimated the date based on a photo that she took with friends. In cross-examination, the defense introduced evidence that Diddy had paid for another Trump hotel room in New York that night on the date in question. So in effect, it looked like they had caught her in what's either a mistake or a lie. They're calling it a lie. But as we heard from Don Hughes, and as a lot of us know, in traumatic incidents like assaults, like near-death experiences, details like dates can get fuzzy. I mean, we're going back to 2016. I think it's really unlikely that this would lead to a mistrial, but you gotta laud the defense for trying, I guess.
Yeah, really interesting as it yet again plays out before our eyes. Mackenzie Joy Brennan, trial attorney and legal analyst, joining us right here on the Live Zone. Truly appreciate you, Mackenzie. We're going to touch base next hour as well with regard to the latest surrounding Diddy. We'll chat soon.
Thank you.
You got it. All right, guys, if it's happening, and it's happening now, we're taking you there. In this case, the nation's capital. Protests now underway over a union president being detained by ICE. Let's take a listen in.
We'll never be defeated! The people united will 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 never be defeated!
That's right! And the people are united. Labor is united. The community is united. I see ASPE is in the house. I see NEA is in the house. I see AFD. I see AFC. I see SEIU. I see Nova Labor, DC Labor. And of course, I see PASA here. And of course, I see SEIU here. Congresswoman, thank you so much for being here. It is now my honor to introduce to you the national president of the House of Labor, the national president of the AFL-CIO. Please welcome Liz Schuler to the stage.
Thank you so much, Jaime. Thank you for your leadership in bringing us together. Is labor in the house?
Yeah!
Is community in the house? Yeah! Are working people in the house? Yeah! Listen, we know this word, don't we? In the labor movement, we were built on this word. And that word is solidarity. Solidarity. And solidarity is what our brother David Huerta was showing up for last Friday when he stood up for immigrant workers in his community and when he was legally exercising his constitutional rights. And when he was violently detained in violation of his constitutional rights and freedoms that every one of us hold dear, by the way, it was a signal, it was a wake-up call. And we know exactly what that wake-up call was designed to do. And so that's why I'm here, bringing the voices of 15 million working people for you. Standing strong together to support our brother David Huerta, to demand his release and end these unjust ICE raids right now. Ahora. Everyone here knows what this administration is doing makes no sense. It makes no sense. Our country suffers when these military raids tear families apart. Our country suffers when we see weapons of war used against peaceful protests in the streets. Shame. 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 Our country suffers when working people who come here and are contributing to our economy and our communities are targeted simply for trying to build a better life for them and their families. But one thing this administration should know about the labor movement and this community collaboration and partnership and allyship that we have built together is that we do not leave anyone behind.
That's right.
And we will be here as long as it takes until they free our brother David, until they end these raids that they are doing nothing but tearing our communities apart. And we will not stop. We will not stop until every worker, no matter your race, your gender, your orientation, your religion, your identity, your immigration status, has the dignity and respect they deserve.
That's right.
So let's keep that word solidarity at the front of our minds. Let's keep marching. Let's keep exercising our voices and doing it peacefully and doing it together. Thank you so much. Thank you for being here and showing solidarity.
I think I see. I see APWU. I see NEM. Free David now! Free David now! Free David now! Hey!
Free David now!
Hey!
Free David now!
Hey!
Free David now!
What?
Free David now!
What?
Free David now!
Hey!
Free David now!
That's right. That's right. I am now going to ask, first of all, thank you, President Schumer, for being here. I'm going to ask the President of the National Education Association to come up here and say a few words.
Yeah, sirens. Do I need to push it? Who are we freeing now? Who are we freeing now? Let me hear it again. Let me hear it again. Let me hear it again. I am so proud to join you here this afternoon on behalf of the 3 million members of the National Education Association. I bring you their solidarity. I bring you their voice. I bring you their power. And I say to you, 32 BJ, you are not alone.
Thank you.
You are not alone. Take a look around at what we did in just 24 hours. president is doing. So we are saying to Donald Trump and all of his allies, we will not scapegoat immigrants.
That's right.
We will not. The people who have built this country, we will not stand by and allow you to do that. I have no doubt that those of you gathered here today will embrace the words of Audre Lorde as we come off of a huge Pride celebration. Deliberate and unafraid, we will say everyone is welcome here. Deliberate and unafraid, we will fight for justice every day, all day, for everyone. Deliberate and unafraid, we will stand united until this country lives into the poetry of its Constitution. We the people, we the people, we the people. All of us have that right to life, liberty, and the pursuit of justice. David would be the first one to say this isn't just about him. But what we gonna do? We gonna free David?
Yeah!
Let me hear you. Free David!
Free David!
Free David!
Free David!
Free David!
Free David!
We will stand up with righteous indignation and we will demand justice now. When we fight!
We will!
When we fight!
We will!
When we fight!
We will!
Thank you!
Thank you! As I was saying earlier, we are not alone. Thank you, thank you, thank you for such a powerful message. Now it is my honor to welcome the national president of the National Coalition for Black Civic Engagement, Melanie Campbell, to the stage.
When we fight,
We win.
when we fight, we win. When we fight, we win. Thank you. I tell you, it's really, really powerful. Just how God works, right? And you said 24 hours later, we are here, standing here in solidarity, because we're not going nowhere. I actually have a meeting happening right now, but there was no way I was going to not come here.
Yeah!
Solidarity. And so I'm going to be very brief, but I just had to think about this moment. And y'all know this quote. First they came for the socialists.
That's right.
And I did not speak out because I was not a socialist. Then they came for the trade unionists, and I did not speak out because I was not a trade unionist. Then they came for the Jews, and I did not speak out because I was not a Jew. Then they came for me, and there was no one left to speak for me. So we speak for David. Free David!
Free David!
Free David!
Free David!
Free David!
Free David!
We are not going no damn where. I don't care what's happening over there, or what's happening over there, or what's happening down the street. This is our country that we built. This is our country, and we ain't going nowhere. God bless you, peace and power. I will stand with you. I will go to jail with you. I will do whatever I can, as long as I got breath in my body, to stand in solidarity with you. God bless you, peace.
All right, I got a new chant for y'all. I got a new chant. You repeat after me. As long as it takes.
As long as it takes.
Whatever it takes.
Whatever it takes.
We'll be in your face.
We'll be in your face.
As long as it takes.
As long as it takes.
Whatever it takes.
Whatever it takes.
We'll be in your face.
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 That's right. Next. Thank you, President Pringle. Thank you, Melanie. Thank you, Liz. Now it is my honor to introduce to you the president of the American Federation of Teachers, President Randy Weingarten. Please come on.
Can you hear me? Yes. We ended, Camilla Jayapal ended by saying, the people united will never be defeated. I want to start that way. The people united will never be defeated. 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 What? Why do I start that way? You've already heard from some amazing speakers, and you'll hear from more. I start that way because even in a moment like this, where we don't have the amplification of the modern era, the amplification that we have is our voices standing together in unison, not being divided. And when we do that, standing together in unison, not divided, people can hear us blocks away. We can do that without amplification if we're standing together, if we're listening to each other, if we are in, as Liz said, solidarity with each other. Now, there's three things I want to say. Number one, David Rutta was standing, bearing witness to an ICE raid of workers who were working for a living, workers who have been terrified because of these ICE raids, workers who are only in America, like my grandfather. I am a third-generation immigrant who came to America for a better life. If one wants to fix the immigration laws, which they should be fixed, fix the goddamn immigration laws. Don't arrest workers.
Yeah!
Sorry, God.
I like
Sorry, God. Number two, the kind of fear and terror that is going on is rifling through so many of our families. Becky represents the NEA, I represent the AFT. We are the fastest growing union in the country. We hear it from our members. We hear it from our members all the time. We do not want ICE in hospitals. We do not want ICE in schools. We do not want ICE in churches. We do not want ICE in workplaces. These are places where people are trying to create the promise of America. And what Donald Trump is doing is the fear of America, not the promise of America. And what David was doing was bearing witness to fight the fear of America and to try to create the promise of America. So this is the third thing and the last thing. This is not a battle that's going to be won or lost by this rally today. There is something, this is Pride Month. We used to have Pride Day, it's now Pride Month. Wait. That started, just like in the Civil Rights Movement, in the Jim Crow era, when people had to keep fighting and fighting and fighting. In the AIDS era, people had to keep fighting and fighting and fighting. So the last thing I will say is this. Silence equals death. We must not only be in solidarity today, but each and every day together, because silence equals death. That is what Mr. Trump wants. He wants to silence us. He wants to create fear. He wants to create apathy. So I am asking you, are we going to be silent?
No!
Are we going to work to get David freed?
Yes!
Are we going to work every day for the promise of America?
Yes!
For the promise for immigrants?
Yes!
For the promise for school children?
Yes!
For the promise for freedom?
Yes!
For the promise for justice?
Yes!
Because, what's the saying from the beginning of the speech?
performance of injustice, which is on that side under this president.
That's right.
Now, I think I saw some ASME people here. I think I saw the president of that amazing union here. It is my honor to introduce the international president of the American Federation of State and County Municipal Employees, Lee Saunders.
Some hell! Yeah. Are you fired up? Yeah. You're fired up. Now, let me say this. On behalf of the 1.3 million members of my union AFSCME, providing public services all across this country, we stand with David, and we demand this right now. Free David! Free David! Free David! Free David! Now just think about this. This is America, supposedly the home of the free. Well, I've got a question about that right now. It's not the home of the free when you stop people from demonstrating and fighting for what they believe in, fighting for their rights, making their voices heard. It's not the home of the free. It's becoming a country that we don't even want to think about. And what we've got to do, what all of us have got to do, is to come together and say, hell no, it's not happening here. Hell no, it's not happening here. Hell no, it's not happening here. It's up to all of us. It's up to all of us. And we just can't do it 1 hour of one day. We've got to do it every day. 24 hours, making our voices heard. We are a force. We care about our country. We care about the people who live in this country. We care about providing them the ability to make an honest day's living for an honest day's work. And that's what it's all about. That's what David is all about. That's what we're fighting for every single day. Because that is who we are. We are labor. And we move the agenda to support working families all over the country. And if somebody gets in our way, shame on them, because we're going to run right over them, aren't we? It's time to make their voices heard. It is time to fight. You've heard all these speakers talking about the need for us to support David, support SEIU, to support those workers, not only in California, but across this country. This is an attack on all of us. And shame on us if we don't get out there and fight like hell every single day and make our voices heard. We've got to do that because we are united. We are right. And we're going to stand up and we're going to fight like hell every single day. Are you ready to fight? Yeah. Are you ready to fight? Yeah. Are you ready to make your voices heard? Yeah. Let's do it. Thank you.
Labor united will never be defeated. Labor united will never be defeated. Hey, labor united will never be defeated. That's right. And we have just a few more speakers. I think some of you guys probably want to march, right? Yeah. We're going to do that. So I'm going to ask a member of one of our key community organizations, a true partner in the movement, to come out and say a few words. She's a member activist of CASA. I'm going to ask Rosa, please come up here and say a few words.
Hello, everybody.
Hello.
Buenas tardes a todos. Mi nombre es Rosa, emigrante de El Salvador y llevo más de 40 años llamando a este país mi hogar.
My name is Rosa, and I am an immigrant who has called this country my home for the past 40 years.
Soy miembro de CASA, una organización nacional liderada por su membresía.
I am a member of CASA, a national organization led by their members.
Que lucha por los derechos de los emigrantes, la comunidad trabajadora.
We fight for the rights of our members, immigrant members, working class members.
Y la justicia racial, equidad e inclusión.
Fighting for racial justice, equity, and inclusion.
Para todas nuestras familias que continúan siendo oprimidas en el mismo país, el cual llamamos nuestro hogar.
Fighting for our same families who continue to be oppressed in the very country they call home.
Hoy estamos aquí alzando nuestras voces, demandando que David Huerta, el presidente de SEIU California, sea liberado.
We are here raising our voices to ensure David Huerta is liberated, president of SEIU California.
También estamos con todos nuestros hermanos y hermanas emigrantes que han sido detenidos injustamente.
We are also here with our brothers and sisters from the immigrant community who have too unjustly been detained.
Ya basta, es tiempo que saquen el terror de nuestras calles, llamados ICE.
Enough is enough. We need to get the terror out of our streets called ICE.
Como emigrantes, siento profundamente el dolor y la preocupación que enfrentamos.
As an immigrant, I deeply feel the worry within our community.
En este momento, estos ataques no son coincidencias.
These moments, these attacks are not a coincidence.
Son sistemáticos y raciales.
They're systemic and racial attacks.
En un intento de criminalizar a todas las personas de color en este país.
An attempt to criminalize all black and brown people in this country.
Esta realidad también se refleja en intentos de modificar la Constitución.
These moments are also felt in the constitutional crisis that we are currently in.
Para quitar la ciudadanía por nacimiento.
Attempts to take away birthright citizenship.
Un ataque directo a nuestros derechos fundamentales y a la dignidad de nuestras familias.
A direct attack to our fundamental freedoms and us as a people.
Exigimos el fin de las redadas crueles e indiscriminadas de ICE.
We ask and demand for an immediate stop to ICE raids.
Que están destrozando nuestras comunidades y perjudicando a todos los trabajadores.
That continue to terrorize our communities and terrorize all of our workers.
Los trabajadores emigrantes son esenciales.
Immigrant workers are essential.
Alimentan a nuestra nación.
They feed our country.
Cuidan a nuestros mayores y construyen nuestros hogares.
They take care of our elderly and construct our homes.
Las comunidades inmigrantes merecen respeto.
Immigrant communities deserve respect.
Yes.
No persecución, somos la fuerza y el corazón de este país.
We do not deserve persecution. We are the heart of this country.
No aceptamos más miedo ni represión.
We will not accept additional fear or additional discrimination.
El tiempo de pararnos y luchar es ahora.
The time to fight and stand up is right now.
Hoy estamos aquí en DC y también en Pensilvania, marchando y luchando.
This is why we're here today in DC and also in Pennsylvania, marching and fighting.
Y como todos decimos, el pueblo
Unido jamás será vencido. El pueblo unido jamás será vencido. El pueblo unido jamás será vencido.
Gracias.
Gracias. Un aplauso para eso. Now it is my honor to introduce a local leader, my partner in the movement here locally. Please welcome Paul Shaw, Executive Secretary Treasurer of Unite Here Local 25. ¿Se puede? ¿Se puede? ¿Se puede? I am here on the behalf of 250,000 of 250,000 housekeepers, dishwashers, servers in our union to say to SEIU and all who fight for justice, we stand with you. We stand with you in demanding the freedom for David Huerta, and we stand with you in demanding the freedom for anyone who has been illegally and immorally imprisoned by the ICE regime. We demand an end to the ICE raids, and we demand it now. We also know, all of us standing here, that this is not a one-day fight, as several of the speakers before me have said. This is a fight where more and more of us need to wake up every morning, go to work, but also say to ourselves, how are we fighting this racist, fascist, anti-immigrant regime? Woo! And sometimes, brothers and sisters, it's difficult when they haul people away in the darkness of night. But looking around here today, I am emboldened because I know what all of us know, which unfortunately the Republicans and Trump and the Democrats who stand with them sometimes, they don't know that when we fight, we win! When we fight, we win! When we fight, we win! That's right. And rest assured, we'll remember in November come election time. Last but not least, you heard from national leaders, national elected officials. Now we also had here earlier Natalie Fani from the Montgomery County Council, who I know had to run, but we have a delegate, a Maryland State delegate, Jerry Solomon, come up here, and then we march. Thank you, Jaime. Thank you all. On Pride Month, I see a rainbow of labor. I see a rainbow of our community here standing together. I want to give a special shout out to the AFT. I started my career as a teacher in Baltimore. Proud BTU member. Thank you to all my brothers and sisters, my educators who are here today, because they know how important this is to protect our kids, to protect our families. I'm going to be brief because we want to march. I just want to say an attack on one of us is an attack on all of us. That's right. And from coast to coast, whether we're standing together in California, whether we're standing together on the streets of D.C., or we're standing together in the halls of Annapolis fighting for workers' rights, you are going to hear us. We are going to stand together, free David, protect our communities. Thank you. All right. Repeat after me. We will not be silenced. 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 Enough is enough. Enough is enough. Enough is enough. Hey, enough is enough. Enough is enough. What do we want? Free David. What do we want? Free David. What do we want? Free David. When do we want it? Now. And when do we want it? Now. And when do we want it? Now. And if we don't get it? Get it now. And if we don't get it? Get it now. And if we we are marching. Now, all of our marches are obviously peaceful marches, which is what we always advocate for. We're going to march, and we're going to go say a few things to the people in that building. But we're going to march on the sidewalk. On the sidewalk. So follow us, people in the front over here. I'm going to ask President Sanders, President Pringle, President Schuler, and labor leaders to go in the front over here, in front of, don't cross yet, y'all. All right, in front of, right here, in this sidewalk right here. Let's go in the front, and we're going to lead a little march.
All right, guys, so you have it. Yet again, protesters outraged over David Huerta. He's the president of the Service Employees International Union of California. He was detained by federal agents on Friday while protesting an immigration raid. Now, federal officials state that Mr. Huerta had been deliberately blocking a law enforcement vehicle and had been arrested for interfering with federal officers. Those protesters that you see right there on your screen now planning to march to the U.S. Capitol. We'll take a quick break. This is the Fox 5 Live Zone. All right, guys, back here on the Fox 5 Live Zone. Well, U.S. economic growth depends heavily on performance of individual states, but some contribute more than others. Let's take California, for example. They have outranked Japan as the world's fourth largest economy in 2024, with a GDP of roughly $4.17 trillion. Now, in order to determine which states are pulling the most weight, even during this time of economic difficulty caused by inflation, Wallet Hub compared 50 states and the District of Columbia across 28 key indicators. Joining us to discuss this and so much more, our guy is back, Chip Lupo, of course, with Wallet Hub right here on the Live Zone. Always good to see you, Chip. Happy Monday.
Happy Monday to you too, Guy.
All right, let's jump into this. You know, I always find these studies really interesting. That's why I love chit-chatting with you, Chip. In this case, we're talking about the economy overall. And I got to tell you, I did not know that California's economy surpassed that of Japan. That is truly astonishing. Can you talk about the 28 key indicators that you all used?
Yeah, well, what we did, Guy, is we evaluated all 50 states and Washington, D.C. across three key dimensions, and those are economic activity, economic health, and innovation potential. And then the 28 key metrics we applied, those range from everything from GDP growth, startup activity, and with emphasis on the share of jobs in the high-tech industries. And yes, California, it's staggering the numbers that they're putting up, considering everything that's going on there. But they do have some underlying problems, particularly in terms of what we call economic health. They are struggling with unemployment and even underemployment rates, but there is a high investment in what we call STEM employment, and there's a lot of investment in some of these high-tech jobs. So it's kind of balancing itself out. Again, California being such a huge state,
yeah,
it kind of balances itself out.
It's also interesting, Chip, because if you look at it overall, they rank number 4. The top 3 happen to be the state of Washington, Utah, and taking the top spot, Massachusetts. Let's touch on Massachusetts before we go right here to the DMV. What was it about Massachusetts that really separated itself from everyone else?
Well, Massachusetts made some tremendous improvements from a year ago. Now, think about what drives the state of Massachusetts. It's Boston and all these elite universities that are in Boston. Now, there's a tremendous amount of money. Boston and the state invest a ton of money. I talked to someone last week who had lived and worked in Boston. She was amazed at just the number of biotech firms that are just popping up all over the place in and around Boston. So there's a huge commitment towards funding what we call STEM jobs, and a lot of R&D funds go into that. What's interesting, though, is what's going on with Harvard and its funding at risk is how much of that money is going to be available a year from now to invest in some of this economy.
I didn't even think about that. You're right. Yet again, the battle, if you will, between Harvard University and President Trump. Let's move locally, or at least right here in the DMV. In this case, we could tell you that within the top 10, well, Maryland happened to have a place.
Well, Guy, let's expand that a little bit. Let's just focus on the top 15 because, and it's good news for the metro area. Maryland 9th and Washington, D.C. sandwiched right in there at 12th with Virginia at 15th. Now, what Maryland has going for it, now, again, all of this, of course, revolves around all of the economic activity in Washington, D.C., government primarily. Maryland has a very high share of what we call fast-growing tech-related firms. They have the lowest unemployment rate at 3%. A very high increase, the ratio, this is key, Guy, it's in the ratio of full-time jobs to part-time jobs. So you're seeing a surge in folks that are maybe working 1 or 2 part-time jobs to make end meet and transitioning into those full-time jobs. And of course, there's a high median household income in Maryland, and a low share of the population lives in poverty.
Yeah, yet again, really interesting. I know we said D.C. happens to be smack dab in the middle between both Maryland and Virginia, coming in at number 12. Anything in particular about D.C. that we should be made aware of?
Right. Now, D.C. at 12th, and probably what kept them out of the top 10. Now, again, they have the highest share of the fast-growing tech firms, tops in the share of STEM employment, and a low rate of uninsured. But where D.C. is struggling is there's a very high unemployment rate, and more so an underemployment rate. Now, that's folks who are working at several grades below their pay or who are taking on part-time jobs while searching for full-time.
Yeah, gosh, very interesting, especially when it comes to, yet again, the state economics, if you will, or the economy for each state. And I always have to tell you, Chip, I am so glad, although, yes, I know D.C. is not a state, that you actually include that within the study as well. Kudos going out to you guys and gals for doing just that.
Our pleasure, guy. We appreciate it.
All right. Chip Lupo with All Things Wallet Hub joining us right here on the Live Zone. Always good to see you, Chip. Make it a great day.
Same here. We'll talk to you next week, guy.
You bet. All right, guys, we'll take a quick break. This is the Fox 5 Live Zone. All right, guys, back here on the Fox 5 Live Zone on a Monday, and joining us now to discuss all things that are taking place in the amazing county of Fairfax. That is that guy right there. Yeah, Mr. Vernon Miles. Fairfax now joining us right here on the Live Zone. Always good to see you, Vernon.
Hey, thanks for having me.
All right, let's jump into it. In this case, the first story that we're actually talking about, somewhat troubling. We know that a man has been charged with attempted rape, this being reported in Woodlawn. Do tell.
Yeah, this is a very scary situation. A woman was walking home and she was approached by a suspect. This man was later identified as Bolivar Mauricio Garcia Hernandez, and he is being charged with attempt to rape, strangulation, and intention to defile, or abduction with intention to defile. Allegedly, this man approached this woman as she was walking home. He attacked her, attempted to assault her at a nearby wooded area. She fought back and was able to escape. And he was later on arrested. They're keeping some of the details close to their chest right now, but like you said, this is obviously a very terrifying situation.
Yeah, Vernon, do we know if this happens to be the first time that this man has, in essence, attempted to do something of this nature?
From what I've seen so far, I was not able to see any other criminal record. But like we said, this is something where we might find out more as this case goes on.
Yeah, well, yet again, kudos going out to the police department in that area for making sure that they got this guy off the streets as he should be. Let's move on to South Block to replace fellow Juice Bar. I got to tell you, when anything involving juice, you got my attention.
I love South Block. With all due respect to Roebuck's Juice Bar, I mean, this South Block is great, and it's coming to the Reston Town Center. If you haven't been there, I highly recommend the peanut butter and jelly bowl that they have. It's got a bunch of berries in it with the peanut butter on it. It's great. I love it. But yeah, so South Block is going to be coming to this area. We're not sure quite when yet, but it will be coming in soon. I believe sometime late this year, possibly.
Yeah, you know what's funny, Vernon? I would always call it the green juice. that's the only way I could identify it. But obviously, it's so much more than that, and so healthy for you as well. Any particular favorite for you? You said the peanut butter one. Is that the one you like?
Like I said, the bowl. You get an acai bowl. You've got the peanut butter like dollop on top with all the berries mixed in. That's my favorite. I absolutely would recommend going for that one if you haven't tried it before.
All right. Well, if it's coming for you, I'm going to try it. I'm all things peanut butter, so I guess that's what I'll be doing sometime later in the near future. Let's end with this, Vernon, and that is Fairfax, yet again, the school board putting the student uniform policy revisions on the back burner. This has a lot of parents talking.
Yeah, this is one where we've seen a lot of discussion about, school uniforms in Fairfax County have been on the table before. There's been talk about, how to handle that. But I think right now, the general understanding has been that there's no rush to address this right now. There's a lot of issues going on with Fairfax County Public Schools, with Fairfax students in general, and the general idea was that this is something that they can postpone, they can give it the proper, consideration that it needs. But right now they're looking at going through redistricting, they're doing a lot of other changes, and they were saying that uniform stuff is something that they can kind of push back for at least another year.
Yeah, I'm curious, did you wear a uniform while in school? I did not.
I briefly went to a military boarding school that was Fork Union Military Academy. If you're thinking about sending your kids there, don't. Yes, so I definitely wore a uniform while I was there. Cannot recommend it.
my parents always threatened to send me to just that school, but it didn't work out. Obviously,
really?
I got my act together. Not saying you did not. But
I did not. I was a bad kid, so that's where I went.
Well, look at you now, Vernon. You're A-OK in my book. Yet again, Mr. Vernon Miles with Fairfax Now, joining us right here on the Live Zone. By the way, you'll never have to wear a uniform when you join me, sir. I promise. All right, guys. We'll take a quick break. Hey, on the flip side of that break, Annie Mae joins us. We call it our Monday Talkers. That's coming up next, right here on the Live Zone. All right, guys, back here on the Fox 5 Live Zone on a feel-good Monday. Why? Because look who's back. Hi. Yes, Annie Mae joining us right here in the LZ.
After a long, extended weekend, here we are.
I know. Can it just continue, please?
It was kind of raining.
Well, I was actually out of town, so I
There you go. You escaped it all. Where were you?
Atlanta.
Okay, there you go.
It was really cool. I love the people down south. They're
little
always
down
cool.
south moment. I'm
Ate a little bit too
it.
much, so this suit is a little tight today, but we'll get through it,
Don't
Annie
we
Mae.
all?
All right. We call this our Monday Talkers. In this case, some of the stuff that you, my friends, are talking about at home. In this case, we're going to start it with an unusual study, I would add. It's about living comfortably beyond reach of the median salary. Apparently, an average wage isn't enough to live comfortably in the U.S., Annie Mae. Now, it's about $62,000 a year right now, but you need nearly $81,000 to live comfortably in West Virginia. That's the most affordable state in this study. What say you?
It depends on what you consider comfortable, right? So I think a lot of people, in my personal opinion, are a little bit financially irresponsible.
Ooh.
I think there are things that you have to do if you make a lesser salary that basically make you comfortable, right?
Yeah.
You can't go out, you can't eat McDonald's, you can't eat Chick-fil-A, you can't eat Chipotle every day, right? You have to go to the store.
Yep.
You might have to go to, you know, the Aldis of the world where you have a little bit cheaper prices. You can't go to Wegmans and Whole Foods, you know? You have to do those things. You have to, you know, maybe we have to go back to the college days.
Oh, no, don't
eat a
say
little
it.
ramen.
Oh,
you know
gosh.
what I mean?
Oh, yeah.
I think there are things that you can do to save money because I do them all the time. You have to buy things that are the, you know, giant product instead of Oreos. You have to buy the off-brand of it. And you can do it. I wouldn't say that $62,000 would make me comfortable.
Yeah.
I completely agree with that, but I do think there are things that you can do to kind of counteract
It's all about being financially responsible, if you will.
Right?
And in this case, I think it's to your point. Yeah, buy maybe the off-brand stuff. However, it's just the cream in those Oreos that are not the real Oreos. It's a little bit different. Yeah, it's a little different.
The Trader Joe's version, what's the O's, the Trader O's or whatever they are, they don't hit the same.
Yeah, so, well, hey, the bottom line is be responsible, especially when it comes to your finances. All right, let's talk about this other survey, which reveals life's biggest little things that drive people Looney Tunes. In this case, we're going to kick it off with 46% dread the moment of spotting their nemesis in public.
Yeah.
Is that her? Is that him right there? Yes, it is. Coming up next, a whopping 36% actually panic when they hear a knock at their front door and they're not expecting guests. And last but not least, 22% say, you know what, I just wish people would be quiet and don't talk to me when I'm not in the mood. Anything that really bothers you day in and day out?
Okay, the funny thing is you're gonna laugh at this because I'm probably the loudest person in this newsroom. That if
really
come 4 or 5 in the morning, don't speak to me. It's so funny. My producer
Really?
Christine will literally, she says the most minimal she has to possibly say at like 4 or 5 in the morning into my ear because I'm just like, I just go, I do my hit, I come back, I don't talk. I go, I do my hit, and then come 6, come 7, come 8, I come alive. But you know, if I don't want to be talked to, especially in the morning before coffee, absolutely not.
Yeah, for me, it's an Uber driver talking to me
Oh
when
my
I
God.
do not want to be bothered. That happened this weekend in Atlanta.
Yeah.
Matter of fact, hey, here's where my sister lives. Hey, they renovated this building. Dude, I could care less.
Yeah. I feel like they have to have an option where it's like, hey, like want to have a conversation versus like, hey, just want to get where I want to be.
Yeah.
You know, because sometimes it'll go and it'll be like, this person has a good rating for good conversation. I'm like, okay, that's great, but I just got off of a, you know, overnight flight or a red eye or whatever, and I don't really want to talk. And I talk for a living. So it's like, when I go home, when I'm in my Uber, like, I don't really want to talk.
Yeah, people don't
you know?
understand that. That's what we do.
They
So
don't.
sometimes we just, mom's the word.
I take it down 12 notches. Yeah.
I would add one other thing, and that is when I'm riding the metro, you're not supposed to stand on, what is it, the left side of the, of the escalator, if you're going up. Yeah, that irks me. That's why I was almost late today. Thank you very much.
Walking is very similar to driving.
Mhm.
There, you have to stay on the right side of the road. So if you're going, you walk right,
Yep.
and everybody walks. If you're on go the opposite direction, you go, or you're walking left and right. You know, there's a flow of traffic
Yep.
when you're walking in the mall, where you're walking wherever. Please follow it.
Yeah, so you heard the advice
Coming
from
from
Annie
your
Mae.
traffic anchor.
Thank you
at
very
Fox
much.
5.
And put a stamp on that one. We're going to end it with this, and that is, by the way, do you own any pets?
My parents have two dogs.
Okay. Yeah, well, me too. As a kid, I had, like 4 or 5.
babies.
I'm just too busy to have one now. But
Right,
anyway, a new study
right.
found that, do people really look like their pets? Apparently, yes, Annie Mae. The new study found that there are similarities between dog and human pairs, both in appearance and personality. Now, people typically pick a dog that, well, somewhat resembles their personality with regard to how they look. The same thing, hair length. And so you would typically, so for you, I would assume the dog would have longer hair. For me, it's probably going to be almost bald.
You had dogs growing up, though.
Oh, yeah, like
Do
plenty
they
of
look
them.
like you?
No, but I can see the similar personalities to a certain extent. Yeah. No, they didn't look like me.
I don't think dogs look like people, but okay, you know what though? I can't even say that because I see those pictures of dogs
Yep.
next to their owners. I'm like, okay, that's so accurate. My parents have a husky, and we have a mutt that's just a million different things mixed into one. He's a little dopey looking. He's so funny. I'm like, yeah, that looks exactly like me. A little
Don't
dopey,
say that.
A little dopey looking. I'm like, there we go. He's so cute. But our other husky, really pretty in terms of like attitude, so hyper.
Yeah.
Crazy, runs around, always wants to escape. I'm like, me. Me.
I find it that dogs typically look like people when they're older. You
Yeah,
ever notice that?
yeah.
They're like kind of old, and you're like, hey, you guys kind of look alike, but maybe it's just
Always
me.
like a dude with like really long hair that looks like they're like long-haired poodle that has all, and you're like, come on now. And they do it on purpose.
Yeah, probably.
I'm telling you, they do it on purpose so that they can be like, you look like your dog.
So let us know, do you look like your dog?
Do you?
Hashtag Box5 Live Zone. We love to know. Annie Mae joining us with all things talkers we do on Mondays. Thank you so much. Appreciate
There you go. Thank you.
All right, guys, we'll take a quick break. We'll be right back. All right, guys, just like that, back here on the Fox 5 Live Zone. Going to take you now back to New York City. You were looking at the courthouse, well, outside of the courthouse, where the Sean Diddy Combs sex crimes trial is currently underway. We know that Jane, one of Diddy's accusers, is continuing her testimony today. Prosecutors say they'll likely take most of the day, if not all of the day, to finish direct examination. Joining us now to discuss this is Mr. Dante Mills, attorney extraordinaire back here on the Live Zone. Always good to see you, Dante.
Good to see you, Guy. Good afternoon.
All right, so let's talk about what's happened thus far today. You heard me make mention to Jane. We know that she was on the stand earlier today. I just got a chance to review my notes and see that the jury took a pause to have lunch. They have returned, and now she, at this very moment, is back on the stand. Before we get into what has been said, I'm curious, Dante, when that happens, and I'm referring to taking a break, taking a lunch break, if you will, does the demeanor of, let's say, the person that's on the stand change? Does the demeanor maybe of the jury change? I know when I go to lunch and I come back, I'm a different guy.
You sleepy? You come back sleepy with the itis?
It's called the itis, yeah. You know me well, sir.
It really depends. That's a great question, Guy. It really depends. Sometimes it does. I've had situations where I had someone on the stand and I was really grilling them. And then you take a break, you come back after an hour, and it's hard to kind of get back into that aggressive rhythm. So you almost have to start over. And if you were on this path where it was, you were clicking with your questions, it kind of throws you off a little bit. Sometimes it's dry and you want to save those more important questions or the questions that will generate some more activity towards after the break, because you want to make sure that people are locked in. It's an interesting question, and it does make a difference. In the morning, people are usually sleepier, but they pay more attention because they're just getting there, where later in the day, they may not be tired, but their attention span is gone. So you also want to factor in your questioning around that. So it's a lot that goes into trying a case. I think breaks do play a part in it. And sometimes lawyers use breaks, and I can speak for myself. I've used breaks intentionally. Judge, I may have to use the restroom, but I also want to just break up this line of questioning that this other person may have with one of my witnesses that I don't see going very, very well. So it's a lot of gamesmanship in trial work. And it's a good question as you asked there.
I got to tell you, it's amazing to me. It's like a chess match, if you will, to just see it all unfold right before our very eyes. Hey, so we know that while on the stand, Jane made mention of the phone calls, and apparently the jury also heard recorded phone calls between both her and Diddy. At one point, Diddy stating, "You know, I can't really discuss on this phone. However, I would like for you to come over and do that thing I like." Really interesting. Not willing to talk about perhaps the trial, but yet again, let the whole world know that, hey, he would like another freak off.
And I think that's beneficial for Sean Combs here. He had a perversion, right? He had a sexual preference, a perversion. Most will say because they're not into that, but who are we to judge what someone likes sexually? You know, we're all different. And that's not illegal if people are consenting to it. What it looks like is he knows that he had to do some things like pay people in order to get them to want to do it. And that's where we are right now. I still don't feel like the prosecutors here have really showed that there's this RICO thing, that there's criminal enterprise. It was just a perverted man who needed to pay people to get them to do the things he wanted them to do sexually. And I don't know if that in and of itself meets the standard of this RICO charge. So clearly he knew that he was in trouble, that this trial was happening, that there was an investigation, but he still had this perversion that he wanted to meet, or he felt compelled to meet. It's almost like an addiction here. And I think that goes against what the prosecutors are saying as far as a criminal enterprise, and just shows who he is as a person that may need some help as opposed to be in jail.
Yeah, Dante, and I want you to touch on that, in that being the RICO charge, if you will. We have heard that time and time again, but you got to remember, you got a guy like me, and the RICO charge, how's that different, this, that, and this? And so with that being said, in layman's terms, can you explain why that is so important and so different than any other, let's say, charge?
Absolutely. So the purpose or the birth of the RICO charges were, when you think of like the gangsters in Chicago, they were making their money on selling prohibited alcohol, and they were turning that into legitimate businesses. So when they were being arrested or investigators were coming in, they couldn't touch their legitimate businesses where all of the money was, because they were legitimate businesses at that point. So these charges were created so that prosecutors would have access to legitimate businesses that were started for the purpose of covering up criminal activity. So if you were a bootlegger and you opened up a restaurant so you can kind of run your money through there because you had this money from bootlegging, before the RICO came into effect, they couldn't touch the restaurant. RICO allowed them to say this restaurant was created to hide this illegal bootlegging money, so now we can get it. So what they have to show in this charge is that he created a business for the purpose of covering up his criminal activity, which was illegal prostitution and those kind of things. I don't think they've shown that. They haven't shown that Bad Boy or anything else was created for the purpose of covering up this sexual activity and these other charges. They're really just showing that he has this proclivity and that his personal life involves this kind of sexual activity, and he also was a businessman on the side. That doesn't meet RICO. They have to show that the business was created for the purpose of covering up this illegal activity or furthering this illegal activity.
Yeah, it is definitely a tall order. And to your point, with that being said, now that you've explained it, I perhaps agree with you. Yet again, we have been speaking with Mr. Dante Mills, attorney extraordinaire. You can see why, joining us right here on the Live Zone. Always appreciate you, Dante. Thank you so very, very much.
Always a pleasure. Have a good afternoon.
All right, guys, we'll take a quick break. This is the Fox 5 Live Zone. All right, guys, back here on the Fox 5 Live Zone on a Monday. Kennedy Morgan, is that your last name?
Yes, that
okay,
is my
I got it
last
right.
name.
She is interning with us during this summer program, and it was so good on Friday. We said, you know what, we got to have you back and back and back again. Very good job. We're very proud of what you've been able to do so far. That's why you got to get an internship, folks. It always works out for you. In this case, we're talking about some of the stories we're following for you on Fox 5. Of course, our website, fox5dc.com. A lot of people really upset with regard to what happened in DuPont Circle. Mayor Bowser now reopening DuPont Circle, and well, it's got a lot of folks talking.
Yes, so DC Mayor Muriel Bowser is facing backlash from the community after deciding to reopen DuPont Circle for Pride Weekend. And amid the opening on Saturday morning, there was a lot of violence in DuPont that night into Sunday night. There were, I believe, 5 stabbings and a shooting, all among juveniles. And Muriel Bowser is facing backlash because the original decision was to keep the park closed, but then violence came about the entire weekend.
Yeah, this was really interesting. Scary at that. Obviously, what, 2 teens, I believe, were stabbed in that area?
2 teens were stabbed and another was shot.
Yeah, in the foot, standing by the DuPont Metro station, so DuPont Circle Metro station.
Yes.
Just troubling. You would hope that this weekend, with regard to celebrating all things Pride, would have gone off without a hitch. And to think that something, another act of senseless violence is just troubling. And hopefully authorities and the Bowser administration can really get a hold on all of this.
Yes, absolutely. I would say, as someone who was there this weekend, there were a lot of teenagers, and I think most of the concerns were over the age of the people who were there this weekend. Lots of teenagers, lots of younger kids wondering where their parents are, as most victims and perpetrators were teenagers.
All right. Well, let's move on to more positive news, if we will. In this case, we're talking about the Washington Spirit.
Yes, the Washington Spirit did win their game against the North Carolina Courage 3-1, and they are back in the top 3 of the NWSL standings. They are currently tied for second place with the Orlando Pride, both having 22 points. Goals were scored by Courtney Brown, Brittany Radcliffe, and of course Gift Monday, led by superstar Croy Bethune. Hopefully they'll get back to first place in the coming weeks with all of
You know what I love most about this story? Is that you love it.
I love it.
I can
Spirit,
tell.
they were absolutely incredible. Shout out to all of the players. I had been watching the Spirit since I got to DC, and I
Did you go to the game?
I could not because it was
Okay.
Pride Weekend.
Oh, got it.
But
All right.
I will try to go for the next game.
Yeah, I am such a fan of them. I mean, they have done so well. And to think that they're right here, I was going to say in our backyard, but heck, they're in our front yard.
They're in our front yard. They're right at Audi Field. All their home games are at Audi Field. They'll be playing the Portland Thorns up in Portland for Providence Park, but they'll be back in July, and I am so excited to watch them.
All right. Are you as excited about tennis as you are about soccer?
Not quite, but I am really passionate about this one story about Coco Gauff.
Yeah, let's talk about it. How cool is that?
Coco Gauff won the French Open. This is her 2nd Grand Slam title. Congratulations to her. She is the youngest player to win in years, and she is the first Black woman to win since Serena Williams. She has been facing a lot of controversy from the tennis community over her opponent, who she beat in the U.S. Open a few years back. That opponent said that she did not play a great game, but she got back onto that press corps and said, actually, I did play a great game, and that's why I'm sitting here, and that's what I won. So congratulations to Coco.
Yeah, I am so happy for her. The best part for me was after she won that trophy that you just saw her holding. Well, she, what does everyone do when they win or do something great nowadays? You got to take a selfie and or a video for social, right?
Yes.
So she sets the phone down and to set it up, and so as she's doing so, the trophy kind of tilts a little bit, and the top falls off.
And it fell off. I was scrolling on social media and actually saw Coco's video, and I was like, oh my gosh, she won. And I didn't even realize that she won through an article I found out through her. So congratulations to her. Apparently, she also has to get a mini trophy. It's not the actual trophy that they gave her. They gave her like a smaller one that
Really?
she talked
Wow.
about. Yeah, you don't get the actual big one, but it is an incredible title to have, and I'm so happy that she won.
Isn't she, what, 21, 22 years old?
She is 21. I think people forget that she just turned 21, and she's beating opponents 20, 30 years older than her. So I have to give her props for her family, who was always sitting in the stands. But yeah, congratulations to Coco.
Yeah, got to give her props and give you your props. Yet again, Kennedy Morgan joining us right here on the Live Zone. Great job, Kennedy.
Thank you.
All right, guys, we'll take a quick break. We'll be right back. First, how about we talk weather, shall we? Caesar joining us right here on the Live Zone. Happy Monday, my friend.
Happy Monday, Guy. I'm hoping everyone has enjoyed at least some of the clearing fog. It started off a little bit on the dreary side. We're starting to slowly see more sunshine. How about we jump right into the forecast?
It was humid today. When I walked, I walked from the metro. Gosh, I was sweating up a storm.
No, definitely. Sweating up a storm, that's the best way to put it. And unfortunately, we're not really seeing any breaks from that. So as we look at today's forecast, look at that. Temperatures back in towards those mid-80s. It is going to be warm and humid today. But the good thing is we start to slowly break that dreary sky cover. So we start to see a little bit more sunshine for us. But as we head in towards the rest of tonight, that warmth also sticks with us, but you'll notice we are going to deal with some rain and the potential for even a few rumbles of thunder out there. So certainly keep that in mind throughout the next 24 to maybe even 48 hours, because going into tomorrow, another day back into the 80s, a few temperatures, a few of us will still stay in the 70s, but things could be a bit on the stormy side for just a few pockets. So not everyone's going to see a storm, but you could run into one. So hold on to that umbrella, maybe not the raincoat, just because of the humidity that we're expecting. So looking at futurecasts, you'll notice there are going to be spotty showers throughout Monday afternoon, mostly to the west. But as we then head in towards the overnight hours and early morning hours of Tuesday, you'll notice that we start to see a few rain showers becoming a little bit more widespread. That starts to break on up going in towards Tuesday afternoon. A few spotty showers right there, those spotty thunderstorms I was just mentioning earlier. And then we start to clear on out for Wednesday. This is going to be the big pattern flip for us. So we are starting to see that we dry on out, having clear skies, and not much in the way of cloud cover. That's going to help a lot of that warmth really start to build in as we see this cold front move through on Tuesday and really bringing in a nice warm up for us. So look at that, temperatures 80s, right? Then going into Thursday, that's going to be the first 90-degree day for us. Fun little fact. So the last two times we saw our first 90-degree day on June 12th was in 1901 and 1951, I believe, or 1950. But it was also 91 degrees.
Wow.
So this would make it 3 years in a row, right? Little fun trivia fact right there. But yeah, it's going to start to get a little bit on the summery side once we start looking at the 7-day forecast here towards the end of the work week. After the rain showers on Tuesday, you'll notice that we start to pick up that warmth and that intensity. Starts to become humid, especially on Friday. That's where we could start to see some of the heat indices getting in towards those mid-90s, really starting to feel like that DC summer. So that's where we start to have all of that, let's just call it DC hot summer mess, right? That's when we're starting to see some of that. Going into Saturday and Sunday, though, because we are expecting to see some rain showers, the potential for a few rumblers as well, that's where we start to see temperatures dropping back down in towards those mid to low 80s. So could be a potential for a wet weekend. Still ironing out all the details as to how much rain we're expecting, whether or not it's actually really going to mess up any plans, and if we can't enjoy all of those lower 80s, because look at that, after the 90s, Guy, I would love some temperatures back into the 80s,
you and me both, especially yet again to just take away that humidity. Gosh, it gets so soupy around here.
It gets soupy, it gets bad, but you know what? At least the pools are open. Maybe
that's true.
Good day on Friday, right?
All right, hey, I'll take you up on it. Caesar joining us with all things weather right here on the Live Zone. Guys, if you haven't already done so yet, you see it right there on your TV screen. Download the Fox Local app. You got to take out your cell phone, click on that QR code, and you, my friend, are good to go. All right, guys, back here on the Fox 5 Live Zone. We are about 4 minutes away from the take, but right now, Cecilia joins us with regard to all things coming up on Like It or Not tonight at 7 o'clock. Good to see you.
You too, Guy. Thanks for having me on.
I'm excited about tonight. By the way, I'm on tonight's show as well. Who are the cast of characters?
It's going to be Jim, of course.
Okay.
You, Marina, and comedian Ramin Mustafavi.
Oh, he is so funny. I always love when he joins the show. I haven't seen him in quite some time, so that's going to be really
He'll
cool.
bring the sass for sure.
Oh, that he does. All right. Well, one of the stories we are going to touch on tonight happens to be none other than, I call it, vanity. In this case, beauty is pain.
Beauty is pain. We've all heard it. Most of us have probably repeated it to ourselves as we're in pain, trying to look good. But one woman told the story that she got married recently. Her shoes were a little too small, but she said, hey, beauty's pain, I'm gonna suck it up.
Ooh.
Guy, they had to amputate her toes.
What?
Because she sucked it up so much, her toes were done.
Wow.
I can see Emmy, she does not like it. She's throwing in a knot.
Yeah, well, I mean, that is true. Beauty is definitely pain, but I don't think I would take it that far. Now, the question
right,
is...
what's the line?
Yeah, had she known that she would, let's say, lose her toes or foot or whatever she lost, would she have done that?
I would have to hope that she would have taken off the shoes.
Yeah.
Girlfriend, no one even cares. It's your wedding day. You do whatever you want. But yeah. You know, I just remember being a kid and my older cousin was like my sister and she would brush my hair and it always hurt and she would say, beauty is pain, suck it up. And so we just learn it, so I'm not sure.
That's the same thing the dentist said to me when I had a lot of dental work done. And seriously, I remember that one little tear right there, kind of I'm trying to hold it. But
beauty is pain, suck it up. It hits a little different when your dentist tells it to you.
Yeah, for real. I can't wait to hear what specifically Marina has to say about this tonight.
That's what I'm excited about, too.
At 7 o'clock yet again on Like It or Not. All right, we'll end with this, and that is minor league baseball. Do tell.
Guy, minor league baseball is blowing up. Have you seen?
No.
So first of all, I've learned so much. Apparently, minor league baseball teams adopt a second identity for some games throughout the year.
Okay.
So this came to my attention because the Somerset Patriots in my home state of New Jersey are going to adopt the identity the Jersey Diners.
Wow.
And people were going nuts about the jersey. Is it stupid? Is it great? So we'll touch a little bit about that. But then I found the Savannah Bananas.
I have seen those. Yep, I'm very familiar.
Guy, they're coming to Nats Park. So I said, oh my gosh, great. I'm going to get tickets. Sold out.
I believe it.
Like the whole tour this year is sold out. You have to get on a wait list for next year.
Wow.
Which makes me wonder, is Major League Baseball out as the pastime? Is this what we have to watch now to be into it? I don't know.
Well, they just do so many quirky things.
Yes.
They're so different than, Major League Baseball where you're buttoned up and all tight. In this case, they're like, hey, it's whatever. Let's just go out there and have some fun.
Yes.
And I think that's what fans really like. It's the ability just to do whatever and see them do just that during a game.
Yeah, it was on at the gym this weekend. My husband looked at the TV. He said, what the heck is that? I looked, I said, oh, it must be minor league. He said, the umpire just did a front flip. No, I had to look into it myself.
We just got to get the Bowie Bay Sox to now do that.
Yes.
And I think that'll be
They're
really
going to
cool.
be selling out.
Yet again, all things that we will discuss and so much more tonight on Like It or Not beginning at 7 o'clock. I truly appreciate you, Cecilia.
Thank you, guys.
All right, guys. If you haven't already done so, then you're going to be out tonight. You probably want to download the Fox Local app. That way you could watch us wherever you go. It's really easy. You just got to click on the QR code. Try saying that fast 3 times.
Can't.
All right. The Take coming up next on Fox 5.